Welcome to the Way of Mastery. Welcome to the Way of Mastery. I'm Earl Purdy here on Facebook Live. I want to welcome you to the Way of Mastery. Are you ready to be a master? Are you ready to be a master? Are you ready to be a master? Welcome to the Way of Mastery. We're going to start the Way of Knowing. Lesson 25. Lesson 25. On 294. We're going to be on page 294 in the Way of Mastery. 294 in the Way of Mastery. Lesson 25. You remain as you are created to be. That's the name of it. You remain as you are created to be. The Way of Mastery, welcoming my mighty companions. Looking forward to my mighty companions. I can feel you. I can feel your presence. Welcome. I'm Earl Purdy. Welcome to the Way of Mastery. Don't forget to share this video on your timeline. Welcome to the Way of Mastery. You remain as you are created to be. Page 294. Page 294 in the Way of Mastery, the Way of Knowing. You remain as you were created to be. So let me get you up on my iPad so I can see your comments. You remain as you were created to be. You remain as you were created to be. You remain as you were created to be. Now we begin on page 294. Now we begin, now we begin, now we begin, now we begin. Let's read it. Beloved and holy friends, we come forth to abide with you as we initiate the third and final part of this formal information in the Way of Mastery. This information will, as time unfolds, will be shared with millions. This is going to be shared with millions. Page 294. Lesson 25, you remain as you are created to be in the Way of Mastery. It says we've chosen to entitle this last group of lessons, The Way of Knowing. So we're going into the Way of Knowing. Let's go into the Way of Knowing. Tell yourself, I am willing to go into the Way of Knowing. I'm willing to go into the Way of Knowing. So what then is required for true knowledge to exist? What's required for true knowledge to exist? What's required for true knowledge to exist? How does one live? How does one live in whatever dimension of creation? How does one live in whatever dimension of creation when they abide in true knowing? The question is, when you abide in true knowing, how do you live? When you are abiding in true knowing, how do you live? Beloved friends, that which is required for true knowledge to pervade the whole of one's consciousness is simply this. Not for one moment have you ever lived life. According to the Way of Mastery, not one moment have you ever lived life. Rather, in truth and in reality, life, which is but love streaming forth. Life is but love streaming forth from the source of all creation, has sought to live as you. Life has sought to live as you. Do you know that life has sought to live as you? Say, life has sought to live as me. Life has sought to live as me. Say it. Life has sought to live as me. Life has sought to live as me. Life has sought to live as you. Life has sought to live as you. Never at any time has there in truth been a false self. Never has there been a time in which something called the ego has ever existed. When you're in the way of knowing, do you know what you know when you're in the way of knowing? When you wake up and when you're in the way of knowing, you know that there never has been a time in which the ego really existed. You see, the ego is nothing but a concept of yourself. The ego is nothing but an image of yourself. The ego isn't really anything that's alive. The ego is just an idea of being separate from source. It's an idea of being separate from God. So the truth is, the ego doesn't really exist. Never has there been a false self. A false self has never existed. If there's a false self, it's never existed. Now remember, we want to hear what the message is. We're not really doing this so that we can analyze the ideas. You know the rules. The rules to the way of mastery, the guidelines are that you don't have to believe the ideas. You don't have to accept the ideas. You don't have to welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas are going to be hard to believe. Some of the ideas are going to be quite startling. You're not asked to judge the ideas at all and analyze the ideas at all. It's the use of the ideas that will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that they are true. The use of the ideas will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. The use of the ideas will give the ideas meaning to you and show you that the ideas are true. The use of the ideas will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. So what did we hear? So what was the one thing that we were told in paragraph 2 that needed to pervade our whole consciousness? The way of mastery says the truth is that we've never really lived life, that what we're calling life really isn't life. It says that life is really nothing but love streaming forth from God. So life is nothing but love. So a person that's living a life or appearing to live a life that's full of fear, anger, guilt, and grievances, the way of mastery is saying that person isn't really living life. A person that's miserable, unhappy, sad, that's not a person who's living life, because it says to us what? It says that life is love streaming forth from the source of all creation. Life is love coming from God. Life is love coming from the Creator. And then the way of mastery says, life has sought to live as you. So life is living you. Life is living you. Life is living you. And your false self, your false ideas about yourself, do you know your false ideas about yourself, your ego never really existed, because your ego is nothing but an image of yourself. It's nothing but a false idea about what you are. So actually the ego doesn't live. We talk about the ego as if it's a separate entity so that you won't take the idea of the ego or the idea of being separate lightly. Because the way of mastery is telling us over and over again that you are life, you are God, you are love. And your ideas about yourself can never change that. You are life, you are love. And there's nothing that can change your ideas about that. So the ego is nothing but a concept of yourself. And a concept of yourself is not something that's alive. A concept of yourself is nothing but an idea that you have that you are identifying with. It's an idea that doesn't represent what you really are, but you are. It's almost like you're pretending to be something that you're not. Like I could pretend to be Robin Hood. I could pretend to be Robin Hood. I could make up a whole story around me being Robin Hood, but it really wouldn't make me really Robin Hood. So even though you have a lot of ideas about yourself, and even though you might have a lot of ideas about a lot of things, your ego, that false self, has never existed. So page 294. Lesson 25 in the way of mastery. You remain as you are created to be. Now I'm going to read the third paragraph. Take a breath and let yourself hear it. You have heard us say many times that what is true about you is true always. What you say now? What is true about you? What is true about you? What is true about you is true always. And that you remain as you are created to be. You remain as you are created to be. You remain as you are created to be. Do you know what that is? You remain as you are created to be. You remain as you are created to be. You remain as you are created to be. Do you know what that is? You are the thought of perfect love in form. Do you know that you are the thought of perfect love in forms? I am the thought of perfect love in form. Say it with me. I am the thought of perfect love in form. Let's say it. I am the thought of perfect love in form. Take a breath. I am the thought of perfect love in form. I am the thought of perfect love in form. I am the thought of perfect love in form. Say it with me. I am the thought of perfect love in form. I am the thought of perfect what? I am the thought of perfect love in form. You are the thought of perfect love in form. You are the thought of perfect love in form. So what does that mean? It means that you emanate from where? You emanate from the mind of the Creator. You emanate from the mind of God. You emanate from the mind of love. You are just like a wave that's emanating from the ocean. That's what you are. The great secret of your human existence. Indeed, the great secret of the many journeys you have taken. What is the great secret? What is the great secret of the many journeys that you have taken? What's the great secret of the many journeys you have taken? Is that those journeys have really existed nowhere save within the movie screen of your own mind. Everything that's ever happened to you has only happened in your own mind. Every journey that you've ever taken, do you know you only took it in your own mind? Do you know that the great secret is you've only been experiencing your own mind? The great secret is everything you've been experiencing has been happening within the movie screen of your own mind. Everything that you're looking at is a projection on the movie screen of your own mind. So what is the secret? The great secret of your human existence. The great secret of your human existence is that every journey you've ever taken has been a journey that you've taken in your own mind. Everything that you are experiencing it in your own mind. Everything that you are experiencing and perceiving is taking place in your own mind. Now, I know the temptation is going to be to go, that don't make sense. I got to figure that out. Don't try to figure that out. Don't try to figure that out. Just let yourself be with that just for a minute. Be with what? Everything that you are experiencing, everything that you are attracting, everything that you are connecting to, everything that you are seeing, everything that you are experiencing, seeing, smelling, tasting is a projection of your own mind. It's happening in your own mind. Do you know that you are something that emanates from the mind of God, just like a wave emanates in the ocean or a sunbeam from the sun? You're like a sunbeam to the sun. You're like a wave to the ocean. You are emanating from the mind of God. You are an emanation array from the mind of God. Do you know that you are just a thought of love? You are a thought of love in form. You are a thought of love in the body. You are a thought of love in the form of a body. That's what you are. I'm going to tell you the truth, and it's always true. Whether you believe it or not, I'm going to tell you the truth that's always true. That is that you remain as you are created to be. And what were you created to be? You were created to be a thought of love in form. Do you know that you are like a wave to the ocean, like a sunbeam to the sun? Do you know that every journey you've ever taken, everything that you have experienced has originated in your own mind? It's happening in your own mind. Kim says, welcome to the Way of Mastery, lesson 25, page 294, not page 284, page 294. Hello, everybody. Hello, Kim, Diana, Jim, Heather, Jane, everybody that's watching online right now. I'm glad that we're live so we can communicate with each other. And I'm going to go to the next paragraph. It says, does it mean that your dreams have had no effects? Well, within the dream itself, as long as you choose to be identified with this dream, you will experience the effects of the choices that you have made. So the Way of Mastery is saying, as long as you are here, you're going to experience the results of the choices that you make. Everything that's happening to a person is the result of the choices that they're making. Everything that happens to a person, as long as they're in this physical experience, which is called the physical dream, the Way of Mastery says the only thing that anybody is experiencing is the effects of the choices that they've made. So I want you to tell yourself the truth right now. No matter what's happening in any area of your life, say to yourself, I am experiencing the effects of the choices that I've made. I am experiencing the effects of the choices I have made. I'm not going to fight that. I'm just going to tell myself that. I am experiencing the effects of the choices that I've made. I'm experiencing the effects of the choices that I've made in relationships. I'm experiencing the effects of the choices that I've made financially. I'm experiencing the effects of the choices that I've made as far as my health. I'm experiencing the effects of the choices that I've made as far as my spiritual development. I am experiencing the effects of the choices that I have made. So give yourself an opportunity to be freed. Tell yourself, I am experiencing the effects of the choices I have made. I am experiencing the effects of the choices I have made. You are experiencing this broadcast right now because it was a choice that you made. Yet now, as the heart has touched purification, and as you have truly been willing to allow transformation to occur, you have allowed, do you know that you have allowed transformation to occur? Do you know that your heart has touched purification? Your heart has touched purification. Do you know that you have been willing to allow transformation to happen? And since you've been willing to allow transformation to occur, all that matters and all that must be remembered is that you say, what is the only thing we need to remember? What is the only thing we need to remember? It said the only thing that must be remembered is that you, as you thought yourself to be, has never existed. Remember this. You, as you thought yourself to be, has never truly existed. What did you just say, Way of Mastery? What? You, as you thought yourself to be, has never truly existed. You, as you have taught yourself to be, has never truly existed. What does that mean? If you've taught yourself to be afraid, angry, sick, upset, attacking, separate, a victim, then you have taught yourself to be something that has never really existed. If you've taught yourself that you're anything other than love, if you have taught yourself that you are anything other than loving, if you have taught yourself that you're anything other than lovable, If you have taught yourself that you are anything but love, it means the you that you thought yourself to be has never truly existed. If you've taught yourself that you're guilty, angry, afraid, a body, then you have taught yourself that you are something that has never truly existed, because the only thing that truly exists is love. The only thing that truly exists is love. If you taught yourself that you are anything other than magnificent, if you taught yourself that you're anything other than free, it's been a smoke screen. A smoke screen. It has been a chimera. In other words, if you taught yourself that you were anything other than you were created to be, which is love in physical form, an emanation from the mind of God, if you taught yourself that you're anything other than something that's lovable and loving, then you have taught yourself that you are something that has never truly existed, and it has been an illusion. So an illusion is anything that you've taught yourself about yourself that's anything other than love. Anything other than seeing yourself as beautiful, holy, innocent, free, magnificent, abundant, then you have taught yourself that you are something that doesn't truly exist. And that's what an illusion is. That's what an illusion is. It's telling yourself that you are something that you are not, and you are not guilty. You are not sinful. You are not separate. You are not alone. You are not lacking. And if you told yourself, if you believe any of those things about yourself, you taught yourself to be something that has never truly existed. Did you hear me? Did you hear me? Did you hear me? As long as you choose to be identified with it, you will experience the effects of the choices you have made. But your heart has been touched and has been purified. You have been willing to allow transformation, or you never would have done the reading and the studying like you've done. And so the only thing that you must remember is that what you taught yourself, if you taught yourself anything other than the fact that you are loving and lovable, then you have taught yourself that you are something that has never truly existed. And that's what an illusion is. Here are some of the comments. Uplifting. I am magnificently lovable. That's right, Greg. Not guilty, not separate, not alone, not condemned. Not guilty, not separate, not alone, not condemned. That's right, Diana. I am not guilty. Case dismissed. Purified. I be gorgeous. Wowzer, this lesson is powerful. So glad we are on our way to reality. These are comments from our mighty companions. Don't forget to like the Earl Purdy page so that you can be notified when I'm doing live broadcasts. And take a moment to share this broadcast on your Facebook Live timeline. So let's go to the next paragraph. On page 294, the last paragraph says, knowledge then consists of the crystal clear awareness that while creation streams forth from the mind of God, you cannot find the place that a separated self began. Whoo! Knowledge then consists of the crystal clear awareness that while creation streams forth from the mind of God, you could not find the place that a separate self began. And you have absolutely no knowledge of where your end will be found. You don't have any knowledge of where you can find your end. You don't know anything about your ending. There's nowhere you can find your ending. In truth, you do not know what's going to unfold in the next moment of your experience. I want you to think about that. What is it that you need to think about? I don't know what's going to happen I don't know what's going to happen a moment from now. I don't really know what's going to happen in the next moment. I don't really know what's going to happen in the next moment, let alone the next hour, the next day, and the next week. Do you know that you don't really know what's going to happen in the next moment? You can tell yourself that you know what's going to happen in the next moment, but the truth is you do not know what's going to happen and what you're going to experience in the next moment. This can only mean what? This can only mean that since you do have a next moment, that something else is living you. There's something else that's living you. Do you know there's something else living you? Since you don't know what's going to happen in the next moment, there's something that does know what's going to happen in the next moment, and that something that does know what's going to happen in the next moment, that something is living you. There's something that's living you. There's something that's living through you that knows what's going to happen in the next moment, but you don't know what's going to unfold in the next moment. You don't know what's going to happen in the very next moment. You really don't have any idea with absolute certainty what's going to happen in the next moment, but something does. And don't you know that that something that does know what's going to happen in the next moment, that something is absolutely living you. Something else is living you. That's right. And I'm glad that you have experienced a miracle today, Jassy. I'm glad that all of us are experiencing miracles. And miracles are expressions of love, expressions of truth. So in the beginning of the journey, there must be desire. So what is it that must be there at the beginning of the journey? In the beginning of the journey, there must be desire. For no one can come unto the Father without desire. I'll never come to God without desire. You must desire to come to the Creator. You must desire to come unto the Creator. So what is it that a person needs to do? A person needs to desire to come unto the Creator. For just as you use the energy of desire to dream the dream of separation, do you know that you are having the dream of being separate right now? That you are having the dream of separation. The Way of Mastery says that you use the energy of desire, that you are experiencing the dream of separation because you desired it. We are experiencing this because we desire to experience this. We are experiencing what we desire to experience. I am experiencing what I desire to experience. I am experiencing what I desire to experience. I am experiencing what I desire to experience. And what I desire to experience is to dream the dream of separation. The Way of Mastery says this is the dream of being separate. Right now, you are having the dream of being separate and in a body separate. You are having a dream of being separate. This is a dream of being separate. And you're having the dream of being separate. Why? Because you desire to have it. You have what you desire to have, even if you don't know that. You have what you desire to have. And if you don't like what you have, you need to change your desires. If you don't love what you have, you need to start getting in touch with your own subconscious thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and ideas, because you have used the energy of desire to dream the dream of separation. And the dream of separation, thinking that we are separate from each other, it says that closed your heart. So when you desire to dream and to believe that you are separate, the Way of Mastery says that closes your heart. And when your heart is closed, what happens? When your heart is closed, it sets you on 1,000 useless journeys. When your heart is closed, it sets you on 1,000 useless journeys. When your heart is closed, it sets you on 1,000 useless journeys. When your heart is closed, when you dream the dream of separation, when you believe you're separate, when you desire to be separate, it closes your heart. According to the Way of Mastery, the energy of desire to dream the dream of separation that closed your heart, that set you on 1,000 useless journeys, propelled and compelled by fear, by judgment, and by doubt. So when you're on a useless journey, how is your useless journey propelled? Well, when a person is on a useless journey, it's propelled and compelled by fear. Fear sends you on a useless journey. Judgment sends you on a useless journey. Doubt sends you on a useless journey. Judgment sends you on a useless journey. Do you know that fear sends you on a useless journey? Judgment sends you on a useless journey. Doubt sends you on a useless journey. When you dream the dream of being separate from everybody, it says that closes your heart. When you think you're separate and different from everybody, the way of mastery says it closes your heart. And that sets you on 1,000 useless journeys. Your 1,000 useless journeys, do you know what propels your 1,000 useless journeys? What propels your 1,000 useless journeys are fear and judgment and doubt. That sends you on a useless journey. Likewise, desire has been necessary for you to be willing to face your illusions. On page 295, first paragraph says, I'll say it again. Desire has been necessary for you to be willing to face your illusions. Do you know that the fact that you're facing your fears, that you're facing your illusions, that you're facing your own imaginary ego, that's because you desire to face your illusions. You have desired to face your fears so that you could go beyond your fears. You desire to face your illusions, and that's what you're doing. When you study the Way of Mastery, A Course in Miracles, or any wisdom text, you are facing your illusions. Facing your fears, you are facing your illusions and facing your fears. You are facing your illusions and facing your fears, and to look more deeply at your judgments. Right now, we're looking more deeply at our judgments. Right now, you are looking more deeply at your judgments. And to see what? What is it you're seeing when you look at your judgments? Do you know that you're seeing that your judgments can have no value save that which you extend unto them? Your judgments don't have any more value than the value you give them. Your judgments don't have any more value than the value you give them. Your judgments do not have any more value than the value that you give them. Your judgments do not have any more value than the value that you give them. Your judgments do not have any more value than the value that you give them. Yeah. Your judgments do not have any more value than the value that you give them. My judgments don't have any more value than the value that I give them. Your judgment doesn't have any more value than the values that you give them. Look deeply into your judgments to see if they can have no value except that which you extend unto your judgments. It has indeed required desire for you to want to awaken. You are awakening to the truth of who you are because you desire to. You are not kidding around. You really desire to wake up. You desire to wake up. You desire to be happy. You desire to know love. You are desiring to wake up. So what did that paragraph tell us? It tells us that you can't come to God unless you desire to. What else did it tell us? It told us that you've been using the energy of your desire to dream the dream of being separate in a body and separate from everybody. Do you know what the Way of Mastery says happens when you dream the dream of separation? It says that when you dream the dream of separation, it closes your heart. What else does it do besides closing your heart? When you dream the dream of separation, it sends you on 1,000 useless journeys. Journeys that are being caused by your fear, by your judgment, and by your doubt. But do you also realize that you've been willing to face your fears? You've been willing to face your illusions. You've been willing to look more deeply at your judgments. And do you know that since you've been more willing to look deeply at your judgments, you see that your judgments don't have any more value than the value that you give them. Your judgments don't have what? Any more value than the value that you give them. And you have the desire to wake up. You have the desire to wake up. That's why you are waking up. It's because you have the desire to wake up. Comments. My judgments don't have any more value than the value I give them. My values have no value but the value I give them. My values don't mean diddly squat. Comment, dream that dream no more. Comment, I'm so glad we face our fears in this class each week and devalue our judgments. I agree, Diana. I desire to wake up. Comment, hey, my mighty companions, willing to look deeply at my judgments. We have the glorious desire to wake up. That's right, Demola. I do have the desire to wake up. That's right, Julie. I love that we are here live, interacting with each other and making comments. Let's keep going. We're on page 295 in the Way of Mastery, lesson 25. You remain as you are created to be. As you have used the power of intention. What is the power that we've used? The power of intention. How have we used the power of intention? To continually etch into the mind the beliefs and perceptions that are the very foundation of the dream of separation. In the past, do you know that you've used the power of intention to continually etch into your mind the beliefs and the perceptions that are the very foundation of this dream of separation? But you have also, so too have you learned to use intention through time. So what did the Way of Mastery say that you have learned to do? You have learned to use intention through time. Time, by the way, is your creation. You have been willing to use intention through time in order to awaken from time. So you've been using time to wake up from time. Do you know that you have been using time to wake up from time? Because you've been using this time to study the truth. So that means you've been using time to wake up from time. You've been using time to wake up from fear. Let me give you a classic example of what I'm talking about. This is happening in time, and we are using these teachings to wake up from our fears. We're using these teachings to get rid of our fears. So we're using time to wake up from time. It's time to use time to wake up from time. It's time to use time to wake up from fear. It's time to use time to wake up from fear. I need to use time to wake up from time. Would you use time to wake up from time? Be sure to use time to wake up from time. Just as you once used the power of allowing to give permission to the creations held within your mind, just as you once used the power of allowing to do what? What have you used the power of allowing to do? To give permission to the creations held within your mind to do what? To seemingly, apparently, take form in front of your eyes. That's deep. What did that just say? That everything that you see in front of your eyes was a creation held within your mind. And it was through your power of allowing, you gave permission to the creations held within your mind to take form in front of your eyes. You may not know it, but you are the one that's using the power of allowing. You're using what? The power of allowing. What are you using? The power of allowing. To do what? You are giving permission to the creations that you're holding in your mind to seemingly, apparently take form in front of your eyes. Everything that's taking form in front of your eyes, you gave that permission to happen because you used the power of allowing to give permission to the creations held in your mind to take form in front of your eyes. you have used the power of allowing to give permission to the creations in your mind to take form in front of your eyes, and that is why you see the things you see in front of your eyes, and allow their reality to become so deeply entrenched that literally worlds have been birthed from the creations held in your mind. So too have you needed to use allowance in the process of transformation. What does that mean, to use allowance in the process of transformation? It means allowing yourself to feel what you did not want to feel before, and allowing yourself to see differently what you had once insisted could only be seen in a certain way. Allowing has been the very field from which all forgiveness you have learned has sprung forth. So what has the power of allowing done? It says, you've allowed yourself to feel what you didn't want to feel before. You are allowing yourself to see differently what you once insisted that could only be seen in a certain way. You've been willing to allow yourself to see things differently. You have used the power of allowing to allow yourself to see things differently. You have been using the power of allowing to allow yourself to see things differently. You have been using the power of allowing that as a field through which forgiveness can come forth. You are allowing forgiveness. You are allowing yourself to see things differently. You are allowing yourself to feel things that you didn't want to feel before. You are using allowance in the process of transformation. Right now, you are using allowance in the process of transformation. I allow it. I allow it. I allow it. Forgiveness can happen by allowing. I allow myself to forgive. 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 You allow yourself 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 to forgive. I allow myself to forgive. Use the power of allowing right now. Tell yourself, I allow myself to forgive. I allow myself to forgive. I allow myself to forgive. That's another way of looking at it. And I love to do these classes live so it can be an experience, so that we can do these things. Of course, we could just read it on our own, but how often do we get a chance to do it and to experience it together? So I hope that you are doing this with me, that you are saying these statements of truth with me, that right now you're allowing yourself to have the experience of allowing. So tell yourself one more time, I allow myself to forgive. 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 You allow yourself 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 to forgive. Okay, the next paragraph starts out, let's see the comments. I'm determined to see differently. I allow it. Yes, 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 yes. I allow myself to forgive. We have been using the power of allowing to feel and see things that we haven't felt before. I allow myself to forgive. I allow myself to forgive. Comments. I'm not a victim of the world I see by allowing myself to forgive. I birthed a world through allowing. I allow God to move in and through me. I live and allow. I allow myself to forgive myself. That's right, Jason. I allow myself to forgive myself. Let's say that. I allow myself to forgive myself. 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 Okay, here we go. The next paragraph. The next paragraph says, allowing has been the most central of keys in the process of your healing and awakening. Allowing has been what? The most central key. The most central key. The most central of keys in the process of your healing. The most central of keys in the process of your healing. The most central of keys in the process of your healing and awakening is what? Allowance. Allowing. For when you truly begin to touch, what did you say? For when you truly begin to touch upon the power of genuine allowing. When you truly begin to touch upon the power of genuine allowing, what happens? What happens when you truly begin to touch upon the power of genuine allowing? What happens when you truly begin to touch upon the power of genuine allowing? You begin to taste the first levels of true freedom. You begin to taste the first levels of true freedom. When do you begin to taste the first levels of true freedom? When you touch upon the power of allowing. When you get in touch with the power of allowing, that's when you first get a little taste of what the first level of true freedom feels like. You have learned what? That just as you have allowed new beginnings to occur, just as you've allowed new beginnings to happen, you have also discovered what? What is it that you've also discovered? You've also discovered that you have the power. You've discovered that you have the power to do what? You have discovered that you have the power to allow endings to occur. You also have the power to end things. You have the power to end things. Do you know you have the power to end things? You can end fear. You can end death. You can end loneliness. You can end sickness. You can end sadness. You can end lack. You can end conflict. You can end separation. You can end insecurity. You can end the belief that you are separate from God. You have the power to allow things to end. There may even be some relationships or a relationship that you need to allow to end. You have the power to allow endings to occur. Where? Where do you have the power? Where do you have the power to allow endings to occur? Where do you have the power to allow endings to occur? You have the power to allow endings to occur within the field of phenomena you call the world. In the field of phenomena you call the world, you have the power to allow endings to happen in your world. You have the power to end anything in your world. You have the power to allow endings. You have the power to allow endings. Allowance is the key, and you have the power. So what did that paragraph say to us? That what is the central key in the process of your healing? What is the central key in the process of your awakening? What is the central key in the process of your healing? What is the central key in the process of your awakening? Allowing. Allow your wealth, allow your abundance, allow your perfect relationship, allow your perfect career, your perfect function, your perfect spiritual awareness in the world. What is the central key in your awakening? What is the central key in your healing? the central key is allowing. When you get in touch with the power of allowing, you're going to get in touch with your true freedom. Your true freedom comes from allowing freedom. Your freedom comes from allowing your freedom. Do you know that it is time for you to do something right now? It is time for you to allow your freedom. Why don't you allow your freedom right now? Come on now. Why don't you allow your freedom right now? Tell yourself, I allow my freedom right now. I allow my freedom right now. Tell yourself, I allow my freedom right now. I allow my freedom right now. Claim it. I allow my freedom right now. I allow my freedom right now. Say it. I allow my freedom right now. Claim your power. I allow my freedom right now. You allow your freedom right now. Do it. You allow your freedom right now. You allow your freedom right now. Allow your freedom right now. Say, I allow new beginnings right now. I allow new beginnings right now. I allow new beginnings right now. Say it. I allow new beginnings right now. You allow new beginnings right now. Claim it. You allow new beginnings right now. I allow new beginnings right now. I allow new beginnings right now. Right now. I allow new beginnings right now. I allow new beginnings right now. You allow new beginnings right now. You allow new beginnings right now. You allow endings right now. I allow endings right now. I allow the end of my guilt. I allow the end of my guilt. I allow the end of my fear. I allow the end of fear. I allow the end of limitation. I allow the end of limitation. I allow the end of anger. I allow the end of anger. I allow the end of lack. I allow the end of lack. I allow the end of separation. I allow the end of separation. I allow the end of separation from God. I allow the end of separation from God. I allow the end of separation from love. I allow the end of separation from love. You have the power to allow endings to happen within this field of phenomena called the world. You are not a victim. You are an emanation of God. You are an emanation of love. And everything that you are experiencing is originating in your mind. Projection makes perception. Projection makes perception. And you're getting in touch with the power of allowing. Get in touch with the power of allowing. Get in touch with the power of allowing right now. Get in touch with the power of allowing. Get in touch with the power of allowing. When are you going to get in touch with it? Right now. Yes, I say unto you, on page 295, I say unto you, surrender. What is surrender? What is surrender? Surrender is the completion of the keys to the kingdom. So what is the completion of, what's the completion of the keys to the kingdom? What is the completion of, What is the completion of? What is the completion of the keys to the kingdom? Surrender is the completion of the keys to the kingdom. What? Surrender is the completion of the keys to the kingdom. Key number 1 is desire. Key number 2 is intention. Key number 3 is allowance. Key number 4 is surrender. So the 4 keys to the kingdom of happiness, the 4 keys to the kingdom of love, the 4 keys to the kingdom of abundance, the 4 keys are desire, intention, allowance, surrender. Desire, intention, allowance, surrender. Desire, intention, allowance, surrender. So those are the 4 keys: desire, intention, allowance, surrender. Desire it, intend it, allow it, surrender. Desire it, intend it, allow it, surrender to it. Those are the 4 keys. What? Desire it, intend it, allow it, surrender to it. Last paragraph of this section. This has been so helpful to me. Yet I say unto you, surrender is the completion of the keys to the kingdom. Just as once you had need of surrendering to your illusions, once you had a need to surrender to your illusions. Why? In order to identify the fundamental energy of your being with your illusions, in order to identify your being with your illusions, you had to surrender to your illusions. In order to identify your being with your false ideas, you had to surrender to your false ideas. And illusions are false ideas. Illusions are false ideas. Just as once you had need of surrendering to your illusions in order to identify the fundamental energy of your being with your illusions, just as you have had to live in surrender, just as you've had to live in surrender to even allow allowance, you had to live in surrender to even allow allowance, just as you have learned to rest in surrender, even to allow intention. Even to allow intention, you had to rest in surrender. Did you know that even to allow intention, you had to rest in surrender? Just as you have learned to rest in surrender, even to allow desire, you had to rest in surrender, even to allow desire to be made new within you. In order to allow desire to be made new within you, you had to rest in surrender. Do you know that you had to already rest in surrender, even to allow desire to be made new inside you? You've already had to rest in surrender. You had to rest in surrender to even allow allowance. Do you know that you had to rest in surrender to even allow intention? Do you realize that you had to rest in surrender even to desire to be made new within you? As you enter the way of knowing, do you know that you've just entered? This is our first gathering on the way of knowing. And as you enter the way of knowing, the final surrender is entered. The final surrender is entered in the way of knowing. So you're in the way of knowing now. So you're taking part in the final surrender. Wow, what a powerful section. The first section called Now We Begin. You remain as you are created to be. And I'm going to do a quick recap because this section was full of gems. An incredible section, the first section in the way of knowing. Mighty companions, I'm so honored to be a teacher and a facilitator of the Way of Mastery. I'm a full-time teacher. This is what I do in the world. This is my function. I'd love to ask you for a financial expression of appreciation to allow me to continue doing this and continue my teaching ministry. If you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation because it's truly valuable to you, would you please go to www.earlpurdy, P-U-R-D-Y, earlpurdy.com, and there you can make a financial expression of appreciation. I'm available to work with as a mentor, a coach, and advisor. I do what I call clarity sessions. I'm also a soul astrologer and numerologist, and I've done that for over 40 years. There is a divine plan for your life. There is a purpose for you being here. Through, at a deeper level, in a form level, there's a perfect lesson that you're trying to learn in relationships and other areas of your life. And using my skills as an astrologer, numerologist, a true teacher, I bring that into our session to help you have clarity to get past any blocks in any area. Invest in yourself. Don't allow yourself to continue to struggle needlessly and to feel unfulfilled in any area of your life. I can help you. Holy Spirit, the universe through me can help you. It's called a clarity session. Go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and it explains my services completely. You can even self-book right online an appointment. On Thursday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, I do hardcore Course in Miracles for students of A Course in Miracles who are studying A Course in Miracles, and they see the Course in Miracles as their spiritual path. Everybody's welcome to watch, but it's geared toward people who have been studying the Course in Miracles. On Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, on the Earl Purdy page, on Facebook. I do another Course in Miracles presentation live, and it's also in front of a live audience. So that's a different energy. So check out my Course in Miracles class on Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And of course, Mighty Companions, on Tuesdays, we have The Way of Mastery. The Way of Mastery is so good. 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page. facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. So let's, I love the comments. The way of knowing, the final surrender. We allow ourselves to express endless appreciation to you, Brother Raj. Thank you, brother. So let's do a quick wrap up. So you've now entered the way of knowing. And we were told that life is trying to live through you. Life is trying to live through you. Your false self, your ego, has never existed. Your ego doesn't have life. Your ego doesn't have an existence. It's just an idea that you've allowed yourself to believe that's not true about you. You are not a body. You are not separate. You are not limited. You're not guilty. You're not something that was born and just lives a few years and dies. You are more than you think you are. You are more than you think you are. You are an emanation radiating from the mind of God. You are an emanation radiating from the mind of God. Life is love, and love is life, and life is living itself through you. Everything that you're looking at is a projection of your consciousness. Everything that you are seeing is a projection of thoughts in your own mind. Change your thoughts, change your world. Change your thoughts, change your world. Change your thoughts, change your world. You're experiencing the effects of the choices you've made. What are you experiencing? The effects of the choices you have made. What are you experiencing? The effects of the choices that you have made. But your heart has been touched. Your heart has been purified. Do you know you have allowed transformation to happen? And the thought that you thought you were, the you that you thought you were, that old idea that you had of yourself, it has never truly existed. It was an illusion. Do you know that you have a crystal clear awareness that streams forth from the mind of God? You can't even find a place that a separate self began. You don't have any idea when your life is going to end, because your real life never ends. In truth, you don't know what's going to happen to you in the very next moment. You don't really know what's going to happen to you in the very next moment. But there is something in you that does know what's going to happen in the very next moment. Something else is living you. Something else is living you. Something else, your greater self, is living you. If you want to begin the journey to pure bliss, if you want to begin the journey to love, there must be desire. You cannot come to God without desire. You cannot come to love. You cannot come to peace. You cannot come to happiness without desire. Now, you may not realize it, but you've used the energy of desire to dream this dream of separation. But when you dream the dream of separation, when you imagine yourself to be separate from everything and everybody, do you know what happens? The dream of separation will close your heart. The dream of separation will close your heart. Do you know what happens when your heart is closed? When your heart is closed, it sets you on 1,000 useless journeys. So how can a person propel themselves on 1,000 useless journeys? The way that you propel yourself on 1,000 useless journeys is by using fear, judgment, and doubt. The three stooges: fear, judgment, and doubt. Those three things will set you on a useless journey, thousands of them. But do you know that you've been doing something fantastic? You've been willing to face your fears. You've been willing to face your illusions. You've even been willing to look more deeply at your judgments. And you are beginning to realize what? What are you beginning to realize about your judgments? You're beginning to realize that your judgments don't have any more value than the value that you give to your judgments. Your judgments don't have any more value than the value that you give to your judgments. No one else's judgments of you have any more value than the value you give their judgments. And it required desire for you to wake up. You know that you've been using your desire to awaken. You've been using the power of intention. I love that. The power of intention. And you have, in the past, used your intention to give yourself beliefs that were the foundation of believing that you were separate from your Creator. You had the intention, for whatever reason, to give yourself the experience of separation, but that's not your intention anymore. And you have used time by tuning in tonight, Do you know that you were using time to awaken you from time? It's time to use time to awaken you from time. It's time to use time to awaken you from time in order to awaken from fear. Do you know that whatever you are seeing in front of you was formed by you giving permission to it to be in front of your eyesight, because it started as a creation in your mind? Now you're allowing yourself to feel things that you've never allowed yourself to feel before. Now you're no longer allowing yourself to just have to see things in a certain way. You're more open-minded. And you are now allowing forgiveness. You are now allowing forgiveness. Will you now allow it? Allow forgiveness? Do you know that allowing is one of the central keys to your healing and your awakening? Do you know that when you do genuine allowing, you're going to feel free? That through your ability to allow, you're going to experience freedom? Do you know that you can allow new beginnings to occur right now? No matter what you're going through, you can allow new beginnings to occur right now. And do you also know that you have the power to allow things to end, that you're ready to end right now? Do you know that surrender is the completion to the keys of the kingdom of love? Now, you used to have a desire to identify with your illusions and your false ideas, but now you don't have that desire anymore. You have to live in surrender in order to allow. You have to rest in surrender in order to use intention. You've learned to rest in surrender even to allow desire to be made new within you. So right now, you are surrendering to this way of knowing. And it has been a powerful, incredible, I love when I get that prickly sensation all over me when Spirit's coming through me. So this is your time to remember you remain as you were created to be. And how were you created to be? You were created to be free. And you remain as you were created to be. I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for your support on every level. And know that I'm here for you. That's why I'm here. I desire to love you and teach you. I intend to love you and teach you. I allow myself to love you and teach you. And I allow myself to surrender to loving you and teaching you. And I also see you as teaching me. I love you so much. May the way of mastery, this course, be with you. Listen to this over and over and over and over and share it. Please share this video.